Hi, I'm Rick Rahalba, and this is The Joy of the Faith. A few weeks ago, Anne-Marie and I started a series called How to Date a Woman, which is pretty sweet, so you should check it out. And I got to thinking, man, when I was growing up, did anyone ever teach me this is how to be a man? You know, to be a man, you should try to be like this, this, and this. And I thought, wow, like I had a good example with my father. You know, he definitely helped me out and showed me what to try to be like. But even I myself never had this. And I got to looking, and when you search in Google how to be the second thing that comes up is how to be a man. And then we look at the news and see these terrible shootings going on, most of them done by men, and hear stories of men treating the woman in their lives terribly. So it was clear to me that we need to make a video series called How to Be a Man. And I'm going to admit, I'm 25, so I'm not an expert at this, right? I'm not a pro. But what I've done is I took the list that MIT put together of the most influential people in history, which I used for the video How to Leave a Legacy. And what I did is I took the 4 philosophers of the last 2,000 years that have been most influential. And that is Augustine of Hippo, Immanuel Kant, René Descartes, and Thomas Aquinas. So I looked into their writings and found just one quote, because I didn't want this video to be super long, that we can look at and see this is what these men thought about being a man. But it can be applied to women as well. So in future videos, we'll dive into these topics even deeper. So we can create that list of this is what a man should be. This is how to be a man. To be a man, you have to try to live these out. All right, so we'll start with Augustine of Hippo. He says, "No one can be happy who does not enjoy what is man's chief good, nor is there anyone who enjoys this who is not happy. If the body is man, it must be admitted that the soul is the chief good of man. No one will question that virtue gives perfection to the soul." We see that Augustine, the most influential philosopher of the last 2,000 years, says that virtue gives perfection to the soul. So to truly be a man, you must be a man of virtue. You must live virtuously. And what does that mean? Well, we'll go into that in future videos because virtue is a super intense thing, but a thing that will allow us to truly be happy, according to Augustine. Next, we'll look at Immanuel Kant, who says, "Through laziness and cowardice, a large part of mankind gladly remain immature." So Kant is straight up here, right? People remain immature because of laziness and cowardice, right? And how true is that? How many times in our own lives do we see something that's really challenging, but we're like, oh man, that's too hard. Or like, oh man, I'm afraid. I don't want to do that. I don't want to step out. I don't want to look different, right? I don't want to go against the flow. But by having courage and being proactive, we're often able to create opportunities and prevent tension. I mean, confrontation is hard, right? But by being brave and courageous, you're able to do it. I mean, who wants to go and see a movie? Like, when have you ever heard that someone was like, oh man, did you see that movie? It was so awesome. That guy was such a wimp. It was so inspiring. No, people want to go and see a movie where male or female, they defy the odds and do something heroic. I mean, just look at the success of Marvel, right? But I'll go into this in further detail in future videos. So Kant says laziness and cowardice. We can't be like that to be a man. Next, we look at René Descartes. He says the life of man is frequently obnoxious to error with respect to individual objects, and we must, in conclusion, acknowledge the weakness of our nature. Acknowledging weakness? That doesn't seem too manly, right? But it's only when we recognize our error, our fault, what we did incorrectly, that we can begin to move forward. I mean, how many times have families broken up because the man was not willing to humble himself and say, yeah, I was wrong, right? I know even in my own marriage, right? It's like I do stuff and I'm like, oh man, that was so stupid. I literally like after I do it, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I did that. But part of us is like, no, I just want to, I wasn't wrong. They were wrong, But in truly being a man, we acknowledge our weakness, knowing that we're not perfect. And we'll go into that in a lot of future videos because there's nothing more freeing than a humble life. And we see this everywhere in sports and leadership and everything. But we'll go into that in future episodes. And finally, we move on to Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas says, the highest perfection of human life consists in the mind of man being detached from care for the sake of God. Now we're getting into faith, and some of you might not really practice any faith, but I encourage you to listen because this is what he's saying. He's saying, when we live our life detached from care, right? Detached from the cares of the world, detached from our family, our friends, what we have, then we can truly live a life of purpose. And for Christians, our life of purpose is our life in love of God. Say, for example, I lose my job, or I find out that one of my kids is going to have a disorder or a problem or something like that. Our natural inclination is to be worried and to be afraid and sometimes to run away. But when we're detached from that, when we know that it's always going to work out, then we can be a strong foundation for those in our family, those in our community to lean on. I mean, think about how many men were probably shaking in their boots at certain times of conflict. It could be outside of war. It could just be like a family conflict. Or it could be in war. Or it could be in the workplace. Or it could be with some great innovation. But they're detached from that moment. They're able to hold back on their emotions. Within themselves, they're kind of afraid, But on the outside, they're saying, I'm going to be solid because I'm detached from this. Because at the end of the day, all these things are going to pass away. The only thing that's certain in life is death. So if we look at this situation thinking, how can I be the best man in this? How can I detach myself from the moment, from my feelings, from everyone around me, and make a proper decision? Then we can truly live a life that is closest to perfection. And while I'm on Thomas Aquinas, he says something amazing, which I've cited in previous videos. To love is to will the good of the other. And I think that to be a man is to be one that focuses on love. And that kind of sounds a little feminine, right? But if we're truly loving, we're willing the good of the other. We're sacrificing for our family. We're sacrificing for our friends because we care about them. And to wrap up this video, I'm going to say something that is not manly. You know, because typically we hear, oh yeah, to be a man, you just are ripped and have sex and stuff like that with as many girls as you want. But Thomas Aquinas, this man, says something profound. He says, men cannot live without joy. That is why one deprived of spiritual joys goes over to carnal pleasures. Now, obviously, man cannot live without joy. That's why he says, if he does not have spiritual joy, if he doesn't get joy from his family, his friends, his relationship with God, most importantly, he's going to turn himself over to carnal pleasures, pleasures of the flesh. You know, what I eat, what I drink, what I do, right? How many people do we know that are just addicted to food? Addicted to sex, addicted to drugs. We see it so much nowadays. We're lacking what it is to be a man. We don't have that spiritual joy. And in these upcoming videos, I'll share with you things that we hit on to be a virtuous man, to be a man that's not lazy or coward, to be a man that can admit that he's wrong, and to be a man that is detached so that we can truly be the men that this world needs. Because we surely do need them. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Have an amazing day, and God love you.